All right, greetings everybody, and greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 7. That is right, week number 7 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class for this summer. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin, and what we are going to do today is a quick state of the course update. Then I'm going to do another database explanation sort of thing, and then I am going to do a little bit of theorizing about why some things about AI that I believe are going to, and this is pop theorizing. It's not something that you'll see in the scholarly record, but it's something that I am noticing. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, yes, still, I do think that pop theorizing has its place in determining how library services should be directed in the future. And I do think that what I'm speaking about is going to play into how human reference librarians are still going to be relevant as we pursue reference service in the future, and why we cannot lean on AI as heavily as a lot of people are trying to say. Okay, so yeah, first let's get into that state of the course update, and yes, pause. By the way, yes, speed this video up. I am kind of tired, to be honest with you, so to be perfectly clear, I might be rambling a little bit, so yes, speed it up. But yes, let's get into that state of the course update first. So the main thing for you all to realize is that we are pretty much done. You have this week and next week left, and so there will be one last check-in video next week, but we're on the home stretch, y'all. The summers, they go by very quickly, at least for me they do. I know that y'all have had a lot of work to do, and I am very pleased with how y'all have performed overall in this class throughout having to do all of this work. Again, I know it's been tight, I know it's been hard, but y'all have been very persistent and gotten through it. And again, I do believe that once y'all turn in your semester-long projects at the end of next week, y'all will be happy to have gotten this required course out of the way. And again, I hope that you will join me for some other courses while you're still in the program. So let's look at what's coming up on the horizon. You don't have much left. So you do have the LibGuide, even though it's not showing up here. You do have the LibGuide that is due this weekend. Let me just pull up that due date so that y'all can see it. And so there you go, July the 26th, which is Sunday night. That is going to be when the LibGuide is due. And then after you complete that LibGuide, that is when you only have a few other things. Well, you also have your discussion board prompt number 7 that is going to be due this coming Sunday night. And after that, all you have left is the semester-long project, which will be due on Friday. I do want y'all to note that that's going to be due on Friday, not on Sunday. So July 31st is when that semester-long project is due. And I look forward to reviewing and getting all of those grades in for y'all. I am currently grading. I'm not done yet, as a lot of you probably already know, but I have started grading the Wikipedia edit assignments. They look good thus far. So again, y'all have done very well this semester, and I'm very pleased with the performance that y'all have had. I am still monitoring emails, so as you are doing your LibGuides, and I'm monitoring Canvas messages, so as you're doing your LibGuides, as questions come up, go ahead and communicate with me, and I will address your questions. And yeah, I have had some of y'all reach out to me regarding LibGuide questions, which is excellent. If you have not started your LibGuide already, please don't make that some, oh, I'm going to start it on Saturday and turn it in on Sunday type of thing. Yeah, you can get away with that with the Wikipedia edit. You can't get away with that with the LibGuide, y'all. Go ahead and get started today if you have not started already. All right. And that is pretty much it for the state of the course updates, but just realize I'm here and I am willing to talk and able to take your questions, so forth and so on. And again, I enjoy this, so I really do hope that y'all will all take classes with me in the future. So we will see. All right, let's go ahead and shift gears now to talking about some databases. All right, so we're going to talk about 2 databases today, and those 2 databases are going to be Opposing Viewpoints and Context, and also we are going to talk about CQ Researcher. And there are specific times when you would use these databases, and they become very, very useful for students because of their ease of use. When you use them in these particular reference interactions. So first, I would say that this is going to be, these two databases are going to be databases that are going to be relevant to all three of your main types of librarians. So your public librarians, your academic librarians, and your K-12 librarians should all be able to make some use of the two databases that I'm talking about, because all the way from middle school through college, you will have students who are looking to make argumentative papers, persuasive speeches, those sorts of things. And these two databases come in handy when students are trying to do either of those two things, or I shouldn't say two things, but when they're trying to do things like argumentative papers and persuasive speeches, debates, that sort of thing, these two databases come in handy in those cases. All right. So you're going to want to be aware of these databases. And again, these are databases that you can recommend to students because they are very easy to use. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at them. I'm going to, again, when I show these databases, I'm basically previewing them for you. This is not so much a tutorial, but it is a way for me to raise awareness that they exist, tell you some of the basics of what they do, the main things that they do well, and then I encourage you, if you want to actually master these databases, to look at tutorials and get some practice on your own. All right, so with all that said, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with opposing viewpoints. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So what we're going to do, I am actually accessing opposing viewpoints through my public library, and so that's going to be Mid-Continent Public Library in the Kansas City area. And what you do when you actually log in is you will be brought to this page. Gale in Context, Opposing Viewpoints. And so what you can do, what I prefer to do at least, and there are different ways to do things, of course, but what I prefer to do is when you have a hot button issue, go ahead and instead of doing the advanced search or the regular search, what I really like to do with this database is the browse issues, because what you'll see is you're going to see a whole bunch, and I do mean a whole bunch. See, there's a lot of stuff there. You're going to see a whole bunch of hot button issues, and these issues are things that a lot of times students do base their persuasive speeches or their debate stuff for their or their argumentative and position papers, those sorts of things. They really a lot of times center on these issues. So of course you've got your classic things. You've got abortion, you've got adoption, you've got the death penalty, which I believe is listed as capital punishment here. So you have your things that people traditionally do those types of assignments around, and then there are things that are a little less frequently used, but still very, very important. Gun control, of course, green cities, things related to the environment, sexual violence, sexual harassment, road rage, even riots, right to bear arms. So you've got rap and hip hop music. So you've got race relations, all these various things that again, become these hot button issues. And the way that this database really, really does justice to these sorts of topics is what you can do, and I'm going to use abortion just because, again, it's such a hot button issue, and I'm not going to get into all of the are you pro-life or pro-choice stuff. We don't have to do that in this video in order to come here and show off what this database is capable of. So once you select a topic from Browse Issues, then what you are led to is a very, very convenient layout of different source types. So when you select abortion, first you'll get an overview here. And the overview is basically a little overview essay. It gives you some of the some of the stuff for, some of the stuff against, and that sort of thing. And this is something that can be cited. And you have citation guides right there. And again, always double check your citations to make sure they are accurate, because they are not always done properly. They are computer generated by AI, which is not that reliable as of yet. And so they are only right 80% of the time. Okay. So yes, you get your main ideas, and you get a good introduction to the topic with the overview. But then you come down here and you get things broken down into source type. And so students a lot of times really, really like this, because these things are mostly full text within the database. You don't have to go outside of the database to get the full text most of the time for these things. So You'll have different source types. The main things, of course, that people will be looking for are going to be academic journal articles, magazine articles, and news articles. But you'll have other things as well. Statistics, viewpoint essays can be actually very good because you can incorporate, they're going to be viewpoints for and viewpoints against, and you can incorporate those viewpoints for and those viewpoints against into the arguments that you are making within your speech or your paper. And then also there are primary sources. You'll have reference materials, encyclopedias, dictionaries, that sort of thing. Biographies even in this case. And then sometimes you'll have to watch the statistics. Sometimes they are actually pretty dated, but that's why you go in there and check them for yourself. And if you see recent statistics, they are fair game. Infographics, images, and those sorts of things. So let's say, first of all, if you're dealing with K-12 students, you're probably not going to be doing the academic journals thing, but let's say you are dealing with a college freshman, and the college freshman is saying that their professor has told them that they have to use academic journals. What they can do is then they can click the source type that they need, and they will be directed to, so you have 625, this is the number of sources within that source type. You'll be directed here, and it will sort by relevance as a default, but you can also go by newest and that sort of thing, and then you can also filter results. So a lot of times students will say, I need something within the last 5 years. You can put those parameters on there. Document type, you can you're probably going to want to stick with articles if you're doing or articles or reports if you're doing the academic journals, the brief articles and things like that, surveys, essays. A lot of times those are not going to be quite as helpful, but they again are fair game. And once you do all of that, I'm actually going to switch this to newest. And once you do all that, you can actually scroll down and look at the titles. And then once a title appears to be something that might be useful to you, you can look at this information here. So you'll see this is where this is the journal that it came from. This was the publication date, the total amount of words in the full text, content level, which is basically how hard it is to read, and Lexile numbers, also how hard it is to read, and the age appropriateness of or reading level appropriateness of the source, and that sort of thing. And if it looks like it might be something that's useful, then you can go ahead and just click the title, and you will be taken right to the full text, okay? Now, one of the drawbacks is that most of the time you will not have the PDF available to you in this database. So if you do need the PDF, then you may need to just take that citation and go into another database that also carries that same journal and then pull the PDF that way. So the reason not having the PDF can be a drawback is because you'll see PDF for formula or something like that. So you'll see where images aren't included, and if you don't have access to the PDF, then you won't get those images and graphs and that sort of thing. But again, there are workarounds to that, including if you need to, you can use interlibrary loan if you can't find it any other way. Okay, so yeah, once you pull that full text, you can save it. You can do all the various little things, email it to yourself, save it to Google Drive, print it out, whatever the case may be that you need, and you can build a source list very, very quickly through this database. Okay, so yes, and again, that's for academic journals there, but I can choose other things. You're going to have a lot of magazine resources because magazines a lot of times are what's the most useful for actually coming up with a quick argument for or argument against the importance of men's voices, for instance. Okay, so you've got something there that's really probably going to give you some sort of angle that you can take, and so you get the full text there, and there you go. So this is very, very easy to use, and it's something that you can get students you can give them a quick introduction and pop them on. Again, you can do the send to, download, print, all of that, get a hyperlink. So yeah, this is very useful for that. You can get sources very, very quickly. Now I am going to go back to the home page and just show you if there is something that I would say that if there is something that you want to, and again, you do have the topic finder and curriculum standards and things like that down here. I rarely ever use topic finder and never use these two things, but if you want to try them out, that is great. You can use the advanced search if you want, so but I don't find it as effective in this database, but it can be useful. So let's say that you wanted to talk about not the legalization of marijuana, but legalization of cocaine. You don't have cocaine legalization as a specific browse issue in that list of browse issues, but what you can do is come here to the, again, to the advanced search. And I'm not going to play around with too many of these things. And then I'm just going to hit search because not a lot of things are going to come back anyway. So I'm not going to put a lot of limiters on. Yeah, so viewpoints, you've got 2. It's not a lot to work with. So again, I would say that try to stick with the hot button issues. And if something's not a hot button issue that is listed in the browse issues, then you probably want to find a different, maybe convince the student to go ahead and find a different topic or refine their topic. So if a student was talking about cocaine legalization, there is something related to drug abuse and drug legalization in the browse topics. And so you might want to try to get them to refine their topic until it's something that you'll actually find in that list of browse issues. Okay, so this is a very nifty database, and yes, if you want to master this database, then go ahead and get some practice on it and watch some tutorials. And now we are going to go to CQ Researcher. Okay, now I'm going to go through CQ Researcher very, very quickly, but again, this is also relevant to your K-12, your academic, and your public librarians. And this used to be a much easier database to use. I do need to find time to actually sit down and watch a tutorial on the new CQ Researcher once it was redesigned, but CQ Researcher explores a single hot button issue in the news in depth each week. Topics range from social and teen issues to environment, health, blah, blah, blah. But what you can do, again, this is a database that explores and goes into depth about hot button issues. But the great thing about CQ Researcher, and the only thing that I'm really going to show you about CQ Researcher, is that you can, again, build a source list very, very quickly because of how footnotes are handled in CQ Researcher. So let me explain. So here is the CQ Researcher. All right, so to keep things simple and to make this video not too long, what we are going to do is we're going to just stick with abortion for now. Now, again, CQ Researcher does a whole lot of stuff. So I'm showing you the things that it does most readily and the things that you can show a student most readily. But I need to also watch the tutorial on it as well because it's been redesigned since it used to be very easy to use while I was in practice, and then about 3 years ago, it got a redesign, and I still, even after 3 years, I still haven't been able to sit down and watch a good tutorial about it. But I can show you again the basics and what it does best. And what it does best, a lot of times with databases, you're not going to use all the features, but you're going to use the features of what the database does best and what is most teachable. Here is what's most teachable with CQ Researcher, okay? So again, we're going to stick with abortion, and what we are going to do is we're going to try to find reports. So you'll have all content types here. You'll have hot topics, reports, blah, blah, blah. I am going to go for reports because reports is where you really get some good information. So if you go to abortion here, this is, I know it says hot topic here, but if you go to full report, and you're probably going to want to go to the most recent one. I know it defaults by most relevant, but I would go for most recent with the reports. If you're doing hot topics, then you can definitely go to most recent. But I'm going to stick with the most recent for the original publication date here. We have 2024, but I'm going to go to the full report, which is 2 years old, a little more than 2 years old. And what you'll see, what's so useful about this is that, okay, so I come here and I get this report right here. I am greeted with an abstract, and then what you get is you basically get, again, a overview, but it's a very long overview. So we have this overview essay right here, or this overview conglomeration of information. And you scroll down, you get timelines, you get all of this supporting information. But here is what makes CQ Researcher so good, is as you are going through their essay, what you'll see are these footnotes here. And you will be able to click on a footnote. So let's say that this tad bit of information here, this is something that's going to be very useful to what the student is doing, but it's something that, maybe citing it from this overview essay isn't what the student needs. Maybe they need to get more in depth. It is very easy to just click this footnote, come down here, and we have 36. This is actually relating, these things are actually relating back to this article right here. So we can go to this Lauren Gambino article, click this, and we'll be taken to a link to the actual article that it came from, which a lot of times that's where you want to go, is the source material. And you can go to the source material and read in depth the information there. Okay, so this is a great way to build up a references list, because again, as you were going through an article, what you can do is just click on those footnotes and you will be able to, it'll send you right down to the footnotes here, and you'll be linked up to the information most of the time, and you'll be able to just click the link and be taken to that information right there. Okay, and so again, this is a really, really quick way to build up a source list. And there are other ways to skin your little cat here. You can go to ProCon, and I actually just looked at the abortion thing because it's not sticking just to abortion. It's also contraception and reproductive issues. So it's getting a little muddled there, but if you go to your ProCon and then you can go to, I'm going to scroll down to this one from 2022, Will Abortion Be Banned Nationwide in the United States? You'll, what you can do is you can click this, and this will take you here to another report. But one of the benefits of selecting from the ProCon is that you'll end up also with this feature here. So you'll have the overview, and then you can scroll down and get all these other various things. You can see that you have a lot more things going on here, but what's really useful in this case is going to be the ProCon. And what the ProCon does is it links you to argumentative essays both in favor. So we've got the question, will abortion be banned nationwide in the United States? You have an argument in favor, and you can read that argument and again incorporate the arguments there, or you can use this to anticipate arguments that may come against your argument. And then you've got the con here, same deal. You can read this, borrow some of the arguments, also try to get a feel for what arguments may come against your argument or against your position, and be prepared to rebut those arguments and that sort of thing. So the pro-con essays tend to be very useful, okay? And then also you get discussion questions here. And so if you want to generate discussion, like let's say you are leading some sort of classroom thing about the particular topic, if you want some discussion questions, again, you have some sample discussion questions right there, okay? So CQ Researcher actually does do a whole lot. And again, I just need to sit down and look at a tutorial of, now that it's been redesigned and overhauled, I need to look at a tutorial that really discusses the overhaul, because it was a lot simpler and easier to use and navigate back when I was in practice. And again, about 3 years ago, they revamped it, okay? But this is the basics of what CQ Researcher is used for. And if you want to master it, go ahead and get some practice and go ahead and watch some tutorials, okay? All right, so that's it for the database overview. Now what I'm going to do is a bit of theorizing, and then we will be done. All right, one moment. This would be a good time to take a break. All right, so now I'm going to take about 15 minutes to just talk very lowbrow theorizing on some things that are coming about with AI. I'm going to show you two things from the internet, and I don't feel that these are going to be isolated things. I feel that these are things that are actually representative or examples of issues that we're having with AI being used to answer questions and basically being used for reference interactions right now. And it's showing some of the flaws or faults with AI. And I do feel that as more time goes on and more research is put into this, and also as we observe more, there is the potential that these sorts of things will highlight the actual importance, especially to the education realm, which is we want to reach, people who are making educational standards and so forth. I think that this will highlight the relevance of humans and specifically trained professionals, specifically librarians, doing reference work and not leaving it to AI because of some of the things that AI is currently doing. Okay, so I want you to watch these things again. Now, these checking videos are optional, and so again, this is kind of lowbrow theorizing, but I want to kind of get the wheels in your head churning a little bit. So first of all, I want to show this quick clip from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist and a public intellectual, but what he says about AI is very interesting. He said this last year or 2 years ago, I believe. And what he said, I believe, is very interesting. And this should be something that we center some LIS research around. So if you become a researcher in LIS, which if you become an academic librarian, that is entirely possible, then these are some things that we need to center some actual research around. So I'm going to show you this and then talk a little bit about it after he says it.
I foresee the day where AI becomes so good at making a deep fake that the people who believed fake news as true will no longer think their fake news is true because they'll think their fake news was faked by AI. The day that happens, the entire role of the internet as a source of objectively true information will implode. And that will be the death of the internet as that source. Like 1992 to 2028, rest in peace. And the internet will return to just cat videos because AI will be so good.
Okay, so again, there are implications there that I think could be the catalyst for a lot of good research, and I do think that Neil deGrasse Tyson may be onto something there. So right now, a lot of people, and this is something that has been a nightmare for librarians ever since the internet emerged, a lot of people just believe, oh, it's on the internet, it's true. And a lot of people just tie their emotions to it. A lot of people don't verify and vet their information through cognitive sort of through what we call so we've got basically three domains in what we look at when it comes to information processing: the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor. And you can Google those terms. I don't have time to really go deep into that right now in this video, but really the affective is when you're talking about the emotion, and the cognitive is when you're talking about the logic. And what people are doing a lot of times is they are vetting information with the affective realm instead of the cognitive realm, which is where it needs to be. And that's why so many people just believe what they want to believe, regardless of how outlandish it is, how biased it is, all these sorts of things. People will still believe it because they are using their affective realm to actually vet their information. And so with that said, fake news has been a nightmare for librarians for over 20 years now, 25 years, going close to 30 years, this fake news that you find on the internet because people want to believe it, so they do. But I believe just like Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying there, I believe that what could potentially happen is people are going to decide that the fake news that's out there, AI, they're going to see all of this stuff on AI, and you're already seeing it. You are seeing, if you go on social media right now, you'll see videos and like on Instagram, you'll see Instagram reels and people are asking, is this AI? Or this is AI. Sometimes they are saying it's AI when it's not. Sometimes they're saying it's not AI when it is. But people are now so alarmed by AI and so distrusting of their own senses that I do believe that, as Neil deGrasse Tyson has said, there may be a time coming within the next few years where reference librarianship becomes relevant in a way it hasn't been relevant in a while, because now people are no longer trusting their information vetting behaviors. Right now, people will be confident in their fake information. They're like, oh, I saw it on the internet. I want to believe it, so it has to be true. But AI is starting to put a dent in that. And I do see where people may get so bothered by their AI information, or they might get so bothered or so skeptical due to AI that they start approaching all of this stuff with more caution, and they might decide, hey, you know what, I can't be trusted to determine if something is AI or not. I need to go to a professional to see. And so what librarians need to do is we need to become adept. We need to become leaders of recognizing when something is and is not AI. And there are some IG accounts out there right now that are already teaching people how to spot AI. And I do believe that that's something that's going to have to become a primary focus of librarians. Now, I want to show you something else. And then after I show you this and soapbox on this a little bit, we will wrap up. All right, so the next thing that I want to show you is something that I don't want you to see as an isolated incident, because if you see this as an isolated incident, then it's going to probably feel like I'm just trying to spread a naive moral panic, and that is not what I'm trying to do. But this is something that I'm witnessing again with a lot of people who are trusting AI on the internet, on social media, and that sort of thing, and it is downright scary because they have lost their ability to discern. Like, they're just deciding, oh, AI found this. AI found this, it's authoritative. And it's really scary that they're not probing to see where AI is pulling this from. So, and again, I don't want you to think this is an isolated incident when I show this to you. This is something that I see a lot, but this is a little interaction that I had on Twitter earlier this week. And again, there are things like this happening thousands of times every single day. So, a few days ago, Jamel Hill, Google her if you don't know who she is, but she was speaking about Caitlin Clark in the WNBA and how Caitlin Clark really is not the most recognizable face. She's not the face of the league, basically, is what Jamel Hill is arguing. She's not the face of the WNBA. Somebody responds to her, oh, I'll just leave this right here. The face of the league is a sports idiom used to describe the most recognizable, marketable, and prominent athlete in a sport. This individual serves as the primary ambassador for the sport, driving global interest, television ratings, and merchandise sales, even among casual fans. Being the face of the league requires more than just being an athlete. The concept combines several distinct elements. Now, if you're familiar with the Google AI tool, and Google is making AI its prominent response thing, it's no longer tackling things by just bringing returns and trying to bring returns as its most prominent feature. Now it is pushing its AI as its most prominent feature. It has shifted to that, which in and of itself is very scary. But as you can see here, this is coming from the Google AI. If you've seen the Google AI, you know this is how things look. And this person just screenshotted the Google AI. And look, there are over 1,000 likes here. Somebody else chimes in, that's from a Reddit user. So, pardon the language here. But this person just gets indignant with, they just stick with it, despite the fact that they're told that this is from a Reddit user. They just stick with it, and this is one of these blue check marks. There are not a lot of followers, so this isn't somebody who is an influencer by any means, but still. Again, there are over 1,000 likes here, and here is the thing. Reddit is something that the Google AI, I have noticed, they pull a lot of their results from Reddit. And for those of you who know what Reddit is something where anyone can make an anonymous profile and supply information anonymously. Now, Reddit can be very useful, and I've used Reddit myself to find answers to things, but I take it with a grain of salt, and I vet what I'm looking at because I know that Reddit is full of anonymous users who may not have any experience in what they're talking about at all. But what is happening is the Google AI is pulling a lot of its information from Reddit. I see Reddit results in the Google AI all the time. And so this AI hasn't decided that these anonymous results are not necessarily authoritative. And one thing that you want with authoritative sources is authorship, authority. So you want to know who is putting out the information, and you want to know why they're putting out the information, and you don't have that on Reddit. You really don't. You don't know who these people are, and you don't know what their motivations truly are. You will know what the motivations of people who have bylines and authorship and reveal who they are. You'll know their motivations a lot of times, and then you can Google around and find out their motivations if you don't know them right off the hand. But in this case, this, folks, is dangerous Because, and this is what I responded, Google AI leans into Reddit way too much and is causing people to treat anonymous Reddit statements as authoritative sources. Now, I say to this person, I don't blame you. You're a victim in the corruption of our information landscape. But this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about. When you have people who are going out and looking at, they're thinking that Google is trustworthy. And so they're thinking that because Google has become a household term, and so they're thinking that the results that Google is going to bring back to them are also going to be trustworthy. And when Google is deciding, when a Google tool is deciding that anonymous statements posted by anybody on Reddit is something that it should bring to the forefront and bring to you as the answer to your questions without further probing, this is very, very dangerous, folks. And I don't know that the general populace really has even caught on to what is going on here, because again, they just take the answer. Again, this is effective. This is effective realm stuff right here. This person is verifying information based on emotion. I'll just leave this right here because this is what I want to believe, so this is what I'm going to believe. So they're not using cognitive functions to vet this information. They are using affective functions to vet this information. And so what we're going to have is a lot of emotional thinking, a lot of emotional information verification, and they're going to, when it's all done through emotion, one thing that they're going to do is they're going to come back and they're going to say, oh, well, Google said this. I mean, and we trust Google. We have been trusting Google for over 20, 25 years now. And this is not where we need to be, okay? So these are the things that we kind of have to look out for, and these are things that we have to bring to those who make education curricula now. We have to bring it to their attention now, because these are the sorts of things that we actually need to educate children and college students against now, so that they don't continue doing this. If you have a whole culture, a whole generation of people who are going through emotional information verification like this, then we are doomed, because people are not going to have the cognitive function to verify information, and they're not going to lean into people who are trained professionals in verifying information, which is what we are. They are going to just go with whatever suits their emotional mind frame, and we do not need that. So yeah, just some things to chew on there, but we have to be advocates. We have to fight. But yes, this sort of thing solidifies why librarians are still relevant and why information services and reference services still need to be offered, okay? So, there's a lot of work to do on that front, but always be an advocate for your profession and for what we're doing. And with that said, I am Dr. Jace, and information verification should not be strictly emotional, and it's very sad that that's the case. Okay, Jace's case, I made my rhyme. I'll go about my day. Again, if you have questions about your LibGuide or your semester-long project, hit me up and I will answer. Till then, ta-ta. We'll have our final check-in video next week.